I have so many people to thank who've helped me with this course that it's going to take an entire video all by itself. The course starts with the book, Python for Informatics. This book starts over 10 years ago when Alan Downey wrote a book about Java and made that an open book. And then Jeffrey Elkner, who's a high school teacher in Virginia, he took that and turned it into a Python book. And then Alan Downey switched from teaching Java to Python, and then he took his own book back, and everyone kept editing this book and making it better. It's called Think Python, but they published it with an open, free, remixable license. And so a couple of years ago, I was teaching SI 502, and I needed a book. And I thought I would write my own book, but a colleague of mine, Atul Prakash, said, hey, you should look at Think Python. So I did. There were lots of things I liked about the book. It was short and to the point, but it had a few too many computer science things in it, so I started rewriting the book and changing the parts that I didn't want. And I was able to modify that book dramatically in about 30 days. And by January, I was able to produce a book in time for my class. But the problem was I needed physical books. And that's where folks from the University of Michigan Libraries came in. Terry Geitke runs a facility called the Espresso Book Machine, which is an on-demand print service, which basically meant that I could walk in with a print-ready PDF, and then they would be able to print that in just a few hours. And so in less than 30 days, I went from no book to physical books, all with a bunch of help from a bunch of people. In addition to the books, Open Michigan has helped me. Open Michigan is our group on campus that's responsible for open education resources. And working with folks like Dave Malachy, I've been trained to build copyright-free materials, both the book and the slides, because we teachers are always dragging stuff from Google and sticking in our slides and violating copyright without even knowing it. And so I've been trained to make slides that I can actually release to you and in a way that makes it so you can reuse them without violating copyright. Another thing that I need to say thanks to is the folks that built the iBooks version of the book. Jason Coleman at the University of Michigan Library, he built that. It took a long time. It's got awesome videos, it's got in-book exercises, etc. It's only for the iBook, but it's free and it's really quite awesome. University of Michigan leadership around our Coursera effort, Martha Pollock, James Hilton, Gautam Kaul, James Devaney, all have given us an environment where it's fun to explore and to play and experiment with what it means to work in this new environment. Tim O'Brien, who's right behind the camera, runs our facility here, and it's a lot of fun to be part of this and have all these neat lights and cameras and stuff to play with building materials for you. My management at the School of Information, Deans Tom Finholt and Beth Yeagle, were very helpful in getting this course to come to life because there's lots of paperwork to fill out on campus, lots of procedures to do it, and so having management that's very supportive and helpful is really very essential. And my fellow faculty members like Atul Prakash, who helped me get started on the Think Python book, and Tanya Rosenblatt and Paul Resnick both have used early versions of my software and sort of tolerated as I got my software working, the software that we're now using in the course. And Michael Hess is one of our technical support people, as well as a fellow faculty member here at the School of Information. And he has given me access to a very large server that helps in making sure that I can use the technical resources that I need at no charge so that we don't have to charge for the course. The Sculpt software is an essential part of this class. It's also part of the RICE class as well. It is what allows you to write Python and run it in the browser. It itself is an amazing piece of technology, and the leader for that is a fellow named Brad Miller from Luther College, who also teaches Python there. And literally without Brad, I don't think there would be any way for me to have built this course. I need to thank everybody from Coursera who's helped me and mentored me and helped me understand what it means to teach at scale. Daphne and Andrew have been very supportive. I completely agree with all of the things that we want to do in terms of getting this teaching as widely distributed as we possibly can. Peng Wei early on was one of the good mentors that really helped me understand that teaching at scale is not the same as teaching in a classroom. How assessment needs to be different, how interaction needs to be different. Kate McShane Urban is our current, she watches over everything that goes on and makes sure that everything works. I've made a number of really nice friends on the technical team who've helped me build the Learning Tools interoperability that lets me plug things like maps and auto graders and just plug stuff in. Brendan Seda and Nick Delamajore are two of the folks that have really helped make all that work. They're also responsible for many of the integration strategies around Coursera, and so that's really cool. Another group that I need to thank comes from IEEE Computer Magazine. I'm an author, column author for IEEE Computer Magazine. I write this monthly column called Computing Conversations. And it's part of what funds me to travel around and make these videos that I share with you in the class. The chief editor, Ron Vetter, Jennifer Stout, who does most of the editing of the columns, and Carrie Clark Walsh. What's cool about IEEE Computer is these are copyrighted materials, but they have given me permission to share them with you at no charge because they just want you to have this information. I also need to thank Sue, Mason, and Morrow, my community teaching assistants. They have been with me since I started Internet History, Technology, Security, and for Programming for Everybody, they have been very deeply involved in the behind-the-scenes preparation. And so months before the class started, they were looking over my materials. And even though the materials always have room for improvement, the fact that they're as good as they are when we release them is due in a large part to the community teaching assistants' help. I also need to thank all the students in my classes who've dealt with draft versions of books and half-finished software like SI-182, SI-502, SI-301, SI-364, and SI-664. In many ways, they were the guinea pigs for the student experience. But really, the most important folks to thank are you, the Coursera students. I just went through 10 or 15 people's names. And they help me. They help produce what you're experiencing. I don't think they help me just because they like me. They help me because it's kind of the nature of what we do. We are at an institution that values teaching. And when someone like me comes to a fellow person at the University of Michigan and says, I need help to make my teaching better, people help. And frankly, we've been doing this for quite some time. And what's really neat now is we're doing it for a much larger group of people. And so it's really you, the Coursera students, that makes all this effort worthwhile. So, in closing, I just want to thank you, and I'll see you in class.